While the Egyptians left extensive records of their trade with Punt, the kingdom itself has largely vanished from the archaeological record. Unlike the monumental pyramids and temples of Egypt, Punt has left behind only fragments, traces of artifacts, faint inscriptions, and tantalizing hints embedded in the natural landscape. Piecing together the story of this elusive civilization is like assembling a complex jigsaw puzzle with most of the pieces missing. Yet the clues we do have reveal a society of remarkable sophistication, connected to one of history's greatest empires, and whose influence resonates even today. The most vivid evidence comes from the meticulous records of Egyptian expeditions. Temple carvings, such as those at Deir el-Bahari commissioned by Queen Hatshepsut, provide intricate visual accounts of Puntite people, their ships, and their goods. The carvings depict Puntite envoys, adorned in elaborate jewelry and distinctive attire, presenting gifts of gold, incense, and exotic animals to Egyptian emissaries. These images suggest a structured, organized society capable of sustained trade and diplomacy. Yet despite the detail in these depictions, the physical locations of Puntite settlements remain unknown, leaving scholars to rely on inference and cross-disciplinary research to reconstruct the kingdom. Material clues also provide tantalizing hints. Artifacts such as incense residue, gold, and exotic animal remains found in Egyptian sites point to Punt as their origin. Myrrh and frankincense, carefully analyzed by modern chemists, have been traced to tree species indigenous to regions of the Horn of Africa, supporting the theory that Punt lay somewhere along the coasts of modern-day Somalia, Eritrea, or Djibouti. Similarly, remains of exotic fauna, such as baboons, giraffes, and leopards, indicate not only trade but also the transfer of biological knowledge between distant regions. These physical traces, though few, are critical in piecing together Punt's role in ancient commerce and culture. Inscriptions, both hieroglyphic and textual, offer additional clues. Ancient Egyptian scribes recorded the names of Puntite leaders, the types of goods exchanged, and even aspects of the kingdom's geography. Though these texts often use poetic or symbolic language, they provide insights into the social and political organization of Punt. For example, Hatshepsut's records describe Punt as a land of abundance and fertility, with rivers, forests, and fertile plains supporting both agriculture and trade. While it is impossible to verify every detail, these accounts suggest a society with established leadership, economic planning, and resource management capable of sustaining its unique position in the ancient world. Modern archaeology has brought new techniques to the search for Punt. Satellite imagery, remote sensing, and ground surveys allow researchers to detect ancient trade routes, settlement patterns, and possible ports that could have facilitated exchanges with Egypt. By combining environmental studies with archaeological evidence, scholars can map likely locations for Punt settlements, even when no structures remain. For instance, areas along the southern Red Sea coast with fertile valleys and access to essential resources are considered prime candidates, reflecting a strategic understanding of trade logistics and environmental advantages that would have supported Puntite prosperity. Despite these advances, uncertainty remains. Scholars debate whether Punt was a single centralized kingdom, a collection of smaller polities, or a more loosely organized network of trading communities. Each theory draws on different pieces of evidence, from the types of goods transported to the descriptions of Puntite society in Egyptian texts. The lack of definitive archaeological remains complicates these debates, yet the search itself has inspired innovative approaches, combining archaeology, linguistics, genetics, and even oceanography to reconstruct a civilization largely lost to time. Another important aspect of archaeological investigation is the study of Punt's influence on Egypt. Temple reliefs, burial artifacts, and ceremonial objects incorporating Puntite materials provide indirect evidence of the kingdom's culture, economy, and technological capabilities. For example, The presence of certain wood types or exotic animal species in Egyptian art suggests not only trade but also adaptation of Puntite resources into Egyptian society. By examining these artifacts, scholars gain insights into Punt's material culture and its significance, even in the absence of extensive physical remains. Some researchers have also turned to genetics and paleoenvironmental studies. Analysis of plant resins and animal remains can provide clues about Puntite biodiversity, trade practices, and interactions with neighboring regions. These scientific approaches, when combined with traditional archaeology, allow historians to reconstruct elements of Punt society and environment with increasing precision. Such interdisciplinary studies offer a window into a world that has been otherwise obscured by centuries of mystery. The allure of Punt lies in the tension between what we know and what remains hidden. Every artifact, inscription, or residue offers a piece of the puzzle, yet the full picture eludes us. This uncertainty has fueled centuries of exploration, speculation, and imagination, making Punt one of the most fascinating mysteries of the ancient world. Archaeologists, historians, and explorers continue to search for physical evidence that can definitively locate the kingdom, yet even the pursuit itself sheds light on the ingenuity and ambition of both the Egyptians and the Puntites. In the absence of complete evidence, scholars often turn to comparative studies. Examining contemporary societies in the Horn of Africa and southern Arabia can provide insights into Punt's potential social structures, economic practices, and environmental adaptations. These studies suggest that Punt may have combined maritime expertise, agricultural knowledge, and trade acumen to maintain a prosperous and influential civilization. The kingdom's ability to sustain a high level of wealth and manage long-distance trade reflects remarkable organizational and technological sophistication, even if the physical remains of settlements have been lost to time. Ultimately, the search for Punt is a testament to the enduring human desire to uncover the past. Each archaeological clue, from a fragment of incense to a carved hieroglyph, represents a link between civilizations separated by distance and time. Punt may be lost to history, but its traces continue to shape our understanding of ancient trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. The kingdom's legacy endures not only in the material treasures it provided but also in the intellectual and imaginative pursuits it inspires, challenging historians to piece together a civilization from whispers, fragments, and shadows. As we continue to explore Punt, it becomes clear that the kingdom's true significance lies not only in its riches but in the stories it leaves behind, the evidence of human ambition, curiosity, and ingenuity. Each fragment, inscription, and trace contributes to a broader narrative, one that connects distant lands, civilizations, and generations. By piecing together these archaeological clues, we move closer to understanding the enigmatic kingdom of Punt, a civilization that, though largely vanished, continues to whisper across time, inspiring exploration, discovery, and wonder. Despite centuries of study, the precise location of Punt remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Ancient Egyptian texts describe it as a land of abundance, fertile valleys, flowing rivers, and exotic wildlife. Yet they offer few geographic markers precise enough for modern scholars to pinpoint its location. Over time, two primary theories have emerged. Punt lay either in the Horn of Africa, encompassing modern-day Somalia, Eritrea, and Djibouti, or along the southern Arabian Peninsula, in what is now Yemen and Oman. Each theory is supported by evidence, but neither can claim definitive proof. The debate continues, fueled by archaeology, linguistics, geography, and even environmental science. The Horn of Africa theory is the most widely accepted among scholars. Proponents argue that the region fits the descriptions recorded by Egyptian emissaries, particularly those of Hatshepsut's expedition. The abundant myrrh and frankincense trees, the presence of exotic animals such as baboons and giraffes, and the fertile coastal plains align closely with the ecological characteristics of this area. Furthermore, the proximity to Egypt via the Red Sea made it a plausible destination for maritime trade, allowing for relatively direct voyages despite the dangers of long-distance navigation. In support of the Horn of Africa theory, archaeologists point to ancient maritime routes that would have allowed Egyptian ships to reach Punt with relative efficiency. Rock formations and sediment studies along the Eritrean and Somali coasts suggest the presence of natural harbors suitable for docking and trade, while traces of incense-producing vegetation provide a biological link between the region and Egyptian imports. Linguistic evidence, though debated, also hints at connections between ancient Egyptian and Cushitic languages, suggesting cultural contact that aligns with the theory of Punt lying within the Horn of Africa. Yet the Arabian Peninsula hypothesis presents a compelling alternative. Proponents note that southern Arabia also possesses the flora necessary to produce frankincense and myrrh, and ancient maritime trade routes from the Nile would have extended naturally along the Arabian coast. The presence of ancient port settlements, inscriptions, and artifacts in Yemen and Oman has led some researchers to suggest that Puntite trade networks might have been centered there, allowing for a thriving economy and exchange of goods with Egypt. In this interpretation, Punt was not necessarily a single centralized kingdom but a network of trading city-states strategically positioned along the southern Arabian coast. Both theories are complicated by the passage of time and environmental changes. Over millennia, coastlines have shifted, river courses have changed, and forests have receded, making it difficult to match ancient descriptions with modern geography. Sites that may have been bustling trade hubs during the 2nd millennium BCE could now be buried beneath desert sands or submerged along the coast. These transformations add an additional layer of uncertainty, requiring scholars to reconstruct Punt's geography not only from texts and artifacts but also from environmental and geological evidence. Another line of inquiry comes from the study of trade goods themselves. By analyzing the chemical composition of frankincense, myrrh, and other Puntite products, researchers can determine the species of trees from which these resins were harvested. Many studies point to Boswellia and coniferous species native to the Horn of Africa, supporting the idea that Punt was located there. However, similar species also grow in southern Arabia, making it difficult to exclude that region entirely. Even gold and exotic animals provide clues. Giraffes, baboons, and certain cattle breeds were more prevalent in East Africa than in southern Arabia, further complicating the debate. Maritime archaeology has also shed light on the issue. Ancient Egyptian ships, capable of long-distance voyages, could plausibly have reached either the Horn of Africa or southern Arabia. Wind patterns, monsoon cycles, and currents are all considered when reconstructing plausible routes. Scholars have simulated these voyages, finding that trips to the Horn of Africa might have been slightly more direct and manageable, but southern Arabian ports would have been accessible as well, particularly for well-organized and expertly navigated fleets. The practicalities of navigation, combined with archaeological and ecological evidence, suggest that both regions could have been involved in trade networks collectively referred to as Punt. The debate over Punt's location also reflects broader challenges in historical reconstruction. Egyptian texts often blend poetic imagery with practical accounts of trade. Descriptions of forests of incense trees or rivers teeming with animals may have been exaggerated or symbolic, making it difficult to separate fact from literary embellishment. Moreover, the lack of surviving Puntite records means that historians must rely almost entirely on Egyptian sources, creating a one-sided perspective. Interpretations are therefore influenced not only by physical evidence but also by the lens through which the Egyptians viewed their neighbors, a blend of admiration, exoticism, and ambition. Some scholars propose a hybrid theory. Punt may not have been confined to a single location but encompassed a wider region, including parts of both the Horn of Africa and southern Arabia. In this scenario, trade networks spanned multiple territories, with different regions supplying various commodities. Such a model aligns with the diversity of goods recorded in Egyptian texts, from rare resins and gold to exotic animals and woods, and reflects the flexibility and adaptability of ancient trade networks. This perspective also accounts for the scattered archaeological evidence and the ecological similarities between the two regions. Regardless of its exact location, the search for Punt reveals much about Egyptian ambition, maritime technology, and cultural interaction. The pharaoh's expeditions required knowledge of navigation, diplomacy, and logistics, while the Puntites themselves were sophisticated partners in commerce. The kingdom's wealth fueled Egyptian religion, politics, and art, and its allure continues to inspire modern archaeologists and historians. Punt represents the ultimate intersection of mystery, trade, and human curiosity, a kingdom that remains both tantalizingly close and frustratingly elusive. In the end, the geography of Punt may never be fully resolved. Yet the exploration of competing theories, whether in the Horn of Africa, the southern Arabian Peninsula, or some combination of both, offers a window into the interconnected world of the ancient Near East. By examining ecological, archaeological, and textual evidence, scholars piece together a vision of a civilization that, though largely lost, left an indelible mark on history. The whispers of Punt guide us across deserts, coasts, and seas, reminding us that some of the most compelling stories in human history are those still waiting to be discovered. While the Kingdom of Punt has long captured the imagination of historians through its treasures and trade, understanding the people who inhabited it is far more challenging. Unlike Egypt, which left behind monumental tombs, temples, and records, Punt has provided only glimpses of its society through Egyptian depictions, inscriptions, and the occasional artifact. Yet even these fragments paint a picture of a civilization that was sophisticated, vibrant, and deeply interconnected with the wider ancient world. From their customs and daily routines to their economic practices and social structures, the people of Punt emerge as a complex and remarkable society. Egyptian reliefs, particularly those from Hatshepsut's mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, offer the most detailed depictions of Puntite life. Men and women are shown in finely woven garments, adorned with intricate jewelry, carrying baskets of incense, gold, and exotic produce. They are often depicted with animals native to the region, giraffes, baboons, cattle, and leopards, suggesting a close relationship between humans and the natural world. While these images are framed through the Egyptian lens, they indicate a society capable of sustaining both labor-intensive trade operations and domestic life in harmony with its environment. Social organization in Punt likely combined elements of hierarchy and collaboration. The Egyptian texts mention Puntite leaders who received emissaries, implying a structured governance system. These leaders would have overseen trade, regulated production of goods, and mediated relations with foreign partners like Egypt. Beneath the leadership, skilled laborers harvested resins, managed livestock, and crafted valuable materials. Artisans worked with wood, gold, and other raw materials to produce objects of both utility and ceremonial significance. This division of labor indicates a society with specialization, economic planning, and an appreciation for both material and aesthetic achievements. Agriculture and resource management were central to Puntite life. The kingdom's wealth in incense, myrrh, and gold required careful cultivation and extraction. Frankincense and myrrh trees, native to the region, needed specific environmental conditions to thrive. Harvesting their resin was a meticulous process, involving tapping trees without damaging them and transporting the resin to storage or trade centers. Gold was mined or panned from local deposits, while exotic animals were carefully captured and maintained for trade. These practices suggest not only technical knowledge but also sustainable approaches to resources that ensured the kingdom's long-term prosperity. The people of Punt were also likely skilled traders and diplomats. Egyptian texts describe Puntite envoys receiving foreign emissaries with gifts, ceremonial displays, and hospitality. This indicates an understanding of negotiation, diplomacy, and intercultural relations, essential for maintaining long-distance trade. The Puntites would have coordinated complex logistics, ensuring that goods, animals, and people could travel safely across challenging terrains and seas. Trade was not merely a transactional activity, it was embedded within a broader social and political framework, reflecting Punt's capacity to operate within a sophisticated international system. Daily life in Punt, while largely speculative, can be inferred from Egyptian depictions and environmental evidence. People lived in villages or settlements near fertile lands or coastal areas, where they could access both agricultural resources and maritime trade routes. Homes were likely constructed from local materials, such as wood, reeds, and mud, designed to withstand the regional climate. Communities engaged in craft production, fishing, hunting, and animal husbandry, balancing subsistence with trade demands. The integration of labor, trade, and social life suggests a society attuned to both ecological conditions and economic opportunities. Cultural practices in Punt appear to have been intertwined with trade and the natural environment. Rituals surrounding the harvest of resins, the care of animals, and the production of valuable goods may have been central to community life. Symbolism tied to animals, plants, and the land itself likely played a role in shaping Puntite identity, just as religious and ceremonial practices defined Egyptian culture. Even clothing, jewelry, and body adornment, as depicted in Egyptian reliefs, suggest an appreciation for aesthetics, social signaling, and possibly status differentiation within communities. Artisanship was another hallmark of Puntite life. Egyptian depictions show Puntites carrying finely crafted items, from gold ornaments to wooden objects, indicating skilled craftsmanship. The production of these items required specialized knowledge, precision, and aesthetic sensibility. Artisans likely trained over years, passing techniques from one generation to the next, ensuring continuity and mastery within the craft. Such skills would have been highly valued, both within Punt and in exchange with Egypt, where their products were symbols of luxury, wealth, and cultural refinement. Maritime skills were equally crucial. The transportation of goods, animals, and resins required expertise in navigation, vessel construction, and maritime safety. Punt's people were likely adept sailors, familiar with coastal winds, tides, and currents. They would have coordinated closely with Egyptian fleets, guiding ships through safe passages and ensuring the survival of valuable cargo. Such expertise demonstrates an advanced understanding of both local geography and international trade dynamics. Despite the limited direct evidence, the people of Punt emerge as a society that balanced economic acumen, cultural sophistication, and environmental knowledge. Their interactions with Egypt were not merely economic transactions but complex exchanges of ideas, materials, and cultural practices. Punt's influence extended beyond its borders, shaping Egyptian art, ritual, and material culture. The kingdom's society, therefore, was not only wealthy but also resilient, adaptive, and capable of sustaining a high level of organization in the face of geographic and logistical challenges. Ultimately, life in Punt was defined by a delicate interplay of trade, culture, and environment. Its people cultivated, harvested, crafted, and navigated with skill, creating a society that supported both prosperity and international influence. They left few physical traces, yet through the lens of Egyptian records and modern research, we can glimpse the contours of a civilization that thrived in a distant land, connected to one of history's most powerful empires. Punt was a kingdom of people as much as treasures, a society whose ingenuity, artistry, and resilience continue to inspire curiosity and admiration to this day. The kingdom of Punt was more than a source of rare goods, it was the center of an intricate and sophisticated trade network that connected distant lands, facilitated cultural exchange, and supported the economy of ancient Egypt. While Egypt reaped the benefits of Punt's riches, the kingdom itself was a hub of commerce, production, and organization, demonstrating a level of sophistication that rivaled other ancient civilizations. By examining the structure, routes, and mechanisms of Puntite trade, we can gain insight into how this enigmatic kingdom functioned as an essential player in the ancient world. Trade in Punt was not a casual endeavor, it was a highly organized enterprise that involved multiple levels of planning, management, and execution. The kingdom's wealth depended on the extraction of precious resins, metals, and other goods, as well as their preparation for export. Workers tapped frankincense and myrrh trees with precision, ensuring the trees remained healthy for continued production. Gold was mined, refined, and packaged for transport. Exotic animals were captured, cared for, and trained for the arduous journey to Egypt. This level of organization indicates a centralized authority capable of coordinating production, managing labor, and overseeing quality control, a sophisticated economy that supported both local needs and international trade. Punt's location along the Red Sea and near the Horn of Africa or southern Arabian Peninsula provided natural advantages for trade. Coastal ports, river systems, and navigable waterways allowed for the efficient movement of goods to and from settlements. Ships were meticulously constructed to carry large cargoes, withstand long journeys, and navigate the sometimes treacherous seas. Skilled sailors and navigators played crucial roles, relying on knowledge of wind patterns, currents, and seasonal monsoons. The combination of geographic advantage, maritime expertise, and organized logistics allowed Punt to maintain a steady flow of goods, even over long distances. Trade networks extended far beyond Egypt. While Egyptian records are the most detailed, evidence suggests that Punt's influence reached other regions of the ancient Near East. Materials such as frankincense and myrrh were in high demand across the Mediterranean and Arabian worlds. Puntite goods were likely exchanged with neighboring cultures, creating a web of commerce that extended from the African interior to the coasts of the Red Sea and possibly beyond. This connectivity required sophisticated mechanisms for negotiating exchanges, maintaining relationships, and ensuring the security of shipments, a level of diplomatic and commercial sophistication that few ancient societies could match. Central to Puntite trade was the specialization of labor. Different groups within the kingdom focused on distinct aspects of production and commerce. Harvesters, miners, and animal handlers supplied raw materials, artisans transformed these materials into valuable goods, and merchants and diplomats facilitated exchanges with foreign partners. This division of labor enabled efficiency and expertise, allowing Punt to maintain both the quantity and quality of goods demanded by Egypt and other trading partners. Furthermore, it reflects an understanding of economic organization and human resource management rarely documented in other contemporary civilizations. The exchange process itself was complex and ritualized. Egyptian expeditions often arrived with gifts intended to establish goodwill, including metal tools, cloth, and other items valuable in Puntite society. Puntite leaders, in turn, presented carefully curated selections of their kingdom's finest products. These exchanges were not merely commercial, they were embedded within political and diplomatic frameworks. Successful trade reinforced alliances, demonstrated mutual respect, and ensured long-term access to resources. Punt was both a supplier and a partner, negotiating its position within an interconnected world. Trade routes connecting Punt to Egypt required careful planning and knowledge of the environment. Egyptian ships had to navigate the Red Sea, contend with unpredictable winds and currents, and coordinate with puntite guides to ensure safe passage. Seasonal variations, such as monsoon winds, dictated the timing of voyages, while coastal topography influenced the choice of landing sites and ports. This interplay of geography and expertise demonstrates that puntite trade networks were not only organized but also highly adaptive, responding to natural and logistical challenges with ingenuity. The commodities themselves played diverse roles in puntite and Egyptian societies. Frankincense and myrrh fueled religious rituals, gold reinforced political authority, exotic animals symbolized status and divine favor, and rare wood supported construction and artistic endeavors. The demand for these goods shaped production priorities, labor allocation, and trade negotiations, making Punt a kingdom that managed both supply and demand with remarkable sophistication. Its economy was not static, it responded dynamically to the needs of its partners while sustaining the prosperity of local communities. Evidence of puntite trade networks also suggests technological and organizational innovations. Ships designed to carry large cargoes required engineering knowledge, while navigational skills reflected astronomical and meteorological understanding. Record-keeping, accounting, and administrative oversight were necessary to manage shipments, monitor resources, and maintain diplomatic relations. In these ways, Punt's trade system exemplifies the fusion of economic, technological, and social sophistication that enabled a relatively small kingdom to exert influence far beyond its borders. Moreover, Punt's trade networks fostered cultural exchange. Through commerce, Egyptians were introduced to new flora, fauna, artistic styles, and materials. Puntite techniques in resin harvesting, metallurgy, and craftsmanship influenced Egyptian practices, while Egyptian rituals and administrative methods may have been adapted locally. This cultural interplay illustrates that trade was more than an economic transaction, it was a conduit for ideas, innovation, and shared knowledge across civilizations. In essence, Punt functioned as a hub of commerce, connecting the African interior, the Red Sea, and Egypt. Its sophisticated trade networks ensured a steady flow of valuable resources, supported both local and foreign economies, and reinforced the kingdom's strategic and diplomatic significance. Puntite merchants, artisans, sailors, and leaders together created a system that was remarkably advanced for its time, demonstrating a level of coordination, expertise, and vision that allowed a relatively small kingdom to play an outsized role in the ancient world. By examining these networks, we gain a deeper appreciation for Punt's role in shaping the economic, cultural, and political landscape of the region. The kingdom was not merely a supplier of exotic goods, it was a hub of innovation, organization, and influence. Through its trade, Punt contributed to the prosperity of Egypt, the development of long-distance commerce, and the interconnection of civilizations across the ancient Near East. Even today, the study of Punt's networks reveals the ingenuity of a society that, though largely lost to history, continues to inspire admiration for its skill, ambition, and vision. While the Kingdom of Punt is often remembered for its treasures and trade with Egypt, the true richness of the land extended far beyond economic exchange. Punt was a kingdom of remarkable environmental diversity and cultural sophistication, where unique landscapes, flora, fauna, and social practices converged to create a civilization that fascinated ancient observers and continues to captivate modern scholars. To understand Punt fully, one must look beyond the commodities it supplied and explore the life, environment, and culture that sustained this extraordinary kingdom. The landscapes of Punt were as varied as they were bountiful. Egyptian texts describe lush valleys, fertile plains, and dense forests teeming with flora and fauna, providing the raw materials for both subsistence and trade. These environments supported the growth of frankincense and myrrh trees, which thrived in arid, rocky soil yet required careful management to ensure sustainability. Fertile river valleys allowed for agriculture, providing grain, fruits, and other staples that sustained local populations. Hills, mountains, and coastal regions created microclimates, producing a variety of habitats that supported both wild and domesticated species. This diversity not only enabled economic prosperity but also shaped the cultural and spiritual life of Punt's inhabitants. The fauna of Punt was equally remarkable, ranging from common domesticated animals to exotic species that fascinated Egyptian visitors. Giraffes, baboons, leopards, and monkeys were depicted in Egyptian reliefs, carefully transported on ships to Egypt as symbols of Punt's wealth and exoticism. These animals likely held cultural and symbolic significance within Punt itself. Baboons, for instance, may have been associated with knowledge and wisdom, while leopards represented strength and protection. The presence of such wildlife within Punt indicates a society that understood the ecological balance, respected the natural world, and harnessed its resources both practically and symbolically. Puntite flora was central to both daily life and ritual practices. Frankincense and myrrh, the kingdom's most famous exports, were more than commodities, they were integral to religious and cultural activities. The harvesting of these resins required detailed knowledge of plant physiology, seasonality, and ecological conditions. Such expertise suggests that Puntite society included specialized knowledge holders, possibly priests or master harvesters, who ensured the sustainable production of these precious materials. Other plants, including medicinal herbs and trees used for construction or craftwork, contributed to the kingdom's economic and cultural resilience, allowing Punt to thrive in a challenging environment. Cultural life in Punt reflected a sophisticated understanding of society, trade, and ritual. Egyptian depictions show Puntite men and women wearing fine garments and jewelry, suggesting both aesthetic sensibility and social differentiation. Communities were likely organized to balance labor, trade, and domestic life, with skilled artisans, craftsmen, and traders contributing to the kingdom's prosperity. Ceremonial practices may have been intertwined with the natural environment, honoring the flora and fauna that sustained the economy and reinforced spiritual beliefs. Through such practices, Puntites created a cultural identity closely linked to the land and its resources. Architecture and settlement patterns, though largely unexcavated, can be inferred from Egyptian depictions and environmental studies. Villages and trading centers were probably situated near water sources or along the coast, facilitating both agriculture and maritime commerce. Homes may have been constructed from local materials such as wood, reeds, and mud, designed to withstand climate conditions while supporting communal and family life. Public spaces, possibly including marketplaces, ceremonial grounds, and storage areas, would have supported both economic and social functions. These patterns suggest a society capable of planning, organization, and adaptation to its environment. Trade and culture were intimately connected in Punt. Beyond serving as a supplier of luxury goods to Egypt, Punt's cultural practices influenced and were influenced by its trading partners. Egyptian artisans incorporated Puntite woods, resins, and animal motifs into their artwork, while Puntites may have adopted certain foreign techniques or customs observed through interactions with Egyptian emissaries. This bidirectional exchange of ideas and materials demonstrates the kingdom's role as both a cultural and economic hub, shaping regional practices and contributing to the broader tapestry of ancient civilization. Punt's natural environment also played a role in shaping mythology and symbolism. The unique landscapes, flora, and fauna were likely woven into the kingdom's spiritual beliefs, with certain animals, trees, and geographic features carrying symbolic significance. For Egyptians, these elements were equally enchanting. The land of the gods, described in Hatshepsut's temple carvings, reflects not only the kingdom's material wealth but also its perceived mystical qualities. Punt's environment, therefore, was inseparable from its cultural and spiritual identity, contributing to its allure and mystery. Sustainability appears to have been a key aspect of Puntite life. The careful management of resin-producing trees, the controlled capture of animals for trade, and the strategic use of fertile land suggest a society attuned to ecological balance. Such practices would have ensured the long-term viability of resources, allowing Punt to maintain its prosperity and trade dominance over centuries. In this sense, the kingdom exemplifies an early understanding of environmental stewardship and the interconnectedness of economy, culture, and nature. Ultimately, Punt's significance lies not only in its contributions to Egyptian wealth and trade but also in its unique environmental and cultural richness. The kingdom provided a living example of how humans can thrive in diverse and challenging landscapes, balancing economic ambition with ecological awareness and cultural expression. By examining the landscapes, flora, fauna, and societal practices of Punt, we gain a deeper appreciation for a civilization that, though largely lost, continues to inspire wonder, curiosity, and admiration. Punt was a land where commerce, culture, and environment converged to create a society of extraordinary sophistication. Its treasures were impressive, but it was the kingdom's ability to harmonize human activity with the richness of its natural surroundings that made it truly exceptional. From lush forests to exotic wildlife, from skilled artisans to organized trade networks, Punt offered a vision of a civilization that integrated economy, culture, and ecology in ways that were both practical and inspiring. Even today, the echoes of Punt's environmental and cultural wonders continue to inform our understanding of the ancient world, reminding us that some of history's most extraordinary civilizations are those that have left behind a legacy as much in ideas and practices as in tangible artifacts.